about justice, truth, and the good life, we would do well to remember the method of that strange, brave man who walked the streets of Athens, asking questions that still echo through time. What do we really know? How should we live? And what does it mean to be wise? Welcome to Icons of History, where we dive deep into the past to uncover the stories of the individuals who shaped our world. From great leaders to visionaries who changed the course of humanity, here we bring you the tales of the icons who left an indelible mark on the pages of history. In the bustling streets of ancient Athens, around 470 BCE, a stonemason named Socrates and his midwife wife Phaenarete welcomed a son into the world. They named him Socrates, unaware that this child would become one of history's most influential philosophers and change the way humans think about knowledge, wisdom, and truth. Young Socrates grew up in the golden age of Athens, when democracy flourished and the Parthenon rose majestically above the city. Like his father, he learned the trade of stonemasonry, chiseling shapes from unyielding rock, a fitting metaphor for how he would later sculpt minds through persistent questioning. But the streets of Athens, not the sculptor's workshop, became his true classroom. Picture a peculiar figure, barefoot with a pot belly, bulging eyes, and a thick beard wandering through the agora, the ancient marketplace. This was Socrates, who had abandoned his chisel for a far more powerful tool: conversation. He would approach anyone willing to talk: merchants, politicians, teachers, students. What is justice, Mom? He might ask, or what is courage? When they answered, he would probe deeper with more questions, exposing contradictions in their thinking. This method, now known as the Socratic method, was like peeling an onion, removing layer after layer of assumptions until reaching the core of understanding, or often the realization that one knew nothing at all. As his reputation grew, young men of Athens began following him, fascinated by his ability to dismantle any argument with surgical precision. Among them was a brilliant young aristocrat named Plato, who would later preserve his master's teachings for posterity. Socrates never charged for his teachings, unlike the sophisticated sophists who taught rhetoric for hefty fees. Instead, he claimed poverty was preferable to wealth gained through dishonest means. But not everyone appreciated his methods. Imagine a respected general or politician confidently holding forth on virtue or leadership, only to be reduced to confusion by Socrates' relentless questioning. "I know that I know nothing," Socrates would say, while demonstrating that his conversation partners knew even less than they thought. His most famous encounters took place in public, creating quite the spectacle. Picture a crowd gathering as Socrates debates with a well-known sophist.
Justice is whatever benefits the stronger party.
The sophist declares that justice is whatever benefits the stronger party. Socrates begins his questioning.
Would you say that rulers sometimes make mistakes?
Yes.
And when they make mistakes, do they command things that harm themselves?
Yes.
Then justice cannot simply be what benefits the stronger, can it?
The city's powerful elite grew increasingly uncomfortable with this gadfly, as Socrates called himself, who was stinging the comfortable horse of Athens into action. The city's powerful elite grew increasingly uncomfortable with this gadfly, as Socrates called himself, who was stinging the comfortable horse of Athens into action. They watched with mounting concern as many of Athens' youth began questioning traditional values and authorities under his influence. In 399 BCE, 3 citizens brought charges against him, corrupting the youth and impiety, not believing in the city's gods. The trial of Socrates became a pivotal moment in Western philosophy. Standing before 500 fellow citizens who would judge him, Socrates refused to compromise his principles.
I will not compromise my principles.
He could have proposed exile as his punishment, but instead declared that he deserved free meals at the Prytaneum, an honor reserved for Olympic champions and distinguished citizens.
I deserve free meals at the Prytaneum.
The death sentence was passed by a narrow margin. In his final days, imprisoned and awaiting execution, Socrates maintained his philosophical composure. His friends planned an escape, but he refused, arguing that it would be wrong to break the laws he had lived under for 70 years, even if they were being unjustly applied.
It would be wrong to break the laws I have lived under, even if they are being unjustly applied.
Socrates, we have a plan to help you escape.
On his final day, surrounded by grieving friends, Socrates calmly discussed the immortality of the soul. As the sun set, he drank the poisonous hemlock with the same equanimity he had shown throughout his life.
The soul is immortal and imperishable, and will ascend to a higher realm.
His last words, according to Plato, were, "Credo, we owe a rooster to Asclepius. Please don't forget to pay the debt." Even in death, he remembered his religious obligations.
Credo, we owe a rooster to Asclepius. Please don't forget to pay the debt.
But Socrates' death marked not an end, but a beginning. Through Plato's writings, his method of questioning and his unwavering pursuit of truth became foundational to Western philosophy. His influence extends far beyond philosophy. In law, education, and critical thinking, the Socratic method remains a powerful tool for uncovering truth. Today, 24 centuries later, Socrates' questions still challenge us. What is justice? What is knowledge? What makes a life worth living? His method teaches us that wisdom begins with admitting our ignorance, that the unexamined life is not worth living, and that truth emerges through rigorous dialogue. In our age of echo chambers and rigid certainties, Socrates' approach is more relevant than ever. He showed us that the path to wisdom isn't through memorizing answers, but through asking better questions. His legacy lives on in every classroom where teachers encourage students to think critically, in every courtroom where arguments are carefully examined, and in every conversation where people seek truth through honest dialogue. The barefoot philosopher who never wrote a book, who claimed to know nothing, who chose death over compromise, transformed how we think about thinking itself. In the end, perhaps Socrates' greatest lesson was not any particular piece of wisdom, but the demonstration that the pursuit of truth, even at great personal cost, is the noblest human endeavor. As we face our own complex questions about justice, truth, and the good life, we would do well to remember the method of that strange, brave man who walked the streets of Athens, asking questions that still echo through time. What do we really know? How should we live? And what does it mean to be wise? Thank you for joining us on this journey through time with icons of history. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. See you next time as we explore more icons who made history.